uwager.lv, Sportsbook, and Casino. Sign up today at uwager.lv, the premier online sportsbook, taking wagers since 1998. The most player-friendly lines, weekly juice specials, and a true dime line in MLB. Unique casino platforms with thousands of games. Play poker, high stakes, low stakes, or tournament play. uwager.lv, what we offer. Free same-day payouts. Customer service and wagering support, 24/7, year-round. Free monthly rebates on your action and daily casino rebates. Contests, free bets, best bonuses, and giveaways. Generous referral program. Get an 80% free play bonus on your first deposit, up to $1,000. Sign up today, and use promo code SPORTSWEB. Remember, you can't win if you don't play.
back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Happy Juneteenth. Happy Father's Day. How do we start off this show as we always do? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Powers on Sports Podcast, Mr. Jason Powers on with us. I figured I had to get him on because the last time we had him on, not only did we have a lot of phone calls, we had a lot of prank calls, we had a lot of excitement. So definitely get him on. And then at 9:30, we will have writer and director Rick Danford talking not only about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, about the Tampa Bay Rays, but a new movie that, of course, he's directing, releasing here pretty soon. Really cool stuff there. And then, of course, as always, we'll take your phone calls. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Not necessarily the best road trip for the Tampa Bay Rays, huh? But this team was tired, so we'll get your thoughts on that. Of course, starting a series with the second place Baltimore Orioles tomorrow night. Tyler Glass now pitching, so hopefully he can get them back in the win column. But 4 out of 7, of course, San Diego takes care of them. Saturday, Blake Snell was dominant, probably his best pitch game of the year. Wonder why, because he's a former Ray and had something to prove. And then you take 2 from Oakland, which you thought coming into it you were going to sweep them. But once again, that's baseball. Still, the Rays are the top team in Major League Baseball, and nobody can say anything about it. Well, you can if you want to, but the record shows the stats don't lie. We'll also talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. By the way, my inbox blew up because everybody thought that Mike Evans is going to be traded. Can we just kind of put this to bed at the end of the day? Mike Evans is not going to be traded. Mike Evans is not going to be traded to the Colts. Mike Evans is not going to be traded to the Baltimore Ravens. Mike Evans is not going to be traded to the New York Giants for Saquon Barkley. In fact, the big news of the day, according to Rick Stroud, or the weekend of the Tampa Bay Times, the Bucs are actually working on an extension. Where did you hear that before? We just had J.C. Allen of Pewter Report. They've been reporting that, if you will, the last month. So we'll see how that works out. We'll also get Paul Stewart of BuckPower.com, his latest rankings here of former Tampa Bay Buccaneer players. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get the man on. We'll go ahead and get his intro on. Here we go. Former Florida State kicker, Powers on Sports Podcast, my tag team partner of the world, right here on BuckPower.com. No quarter given with Mr. Uncle TJ Reeves. Jason Powers, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. How you doing on this Monday night, my friend?
What's going on, Peter Blake and the members of the Sports Web Revolution?
Well, we call it the evolution, but you were almost correct there. That's very good. And the last time we had you on, Jason Powers, the phone lines were going crazy. So I said, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's go ahead and take some calls. But let's start out with the 51-24 Tampa Bay Rays.
Real quick, before we get started, I got to give a shout out to a guy you and I both know.
Yes.
Drew Felios.
Yes.
Our buddy ESPN broadcaster, works for
Karate
ESPN.
I mean, I filled in for Karate Combat. I mean, he does a hell of a job with that. Unbelievable
voice of the Tampa Bay Rowdies.
Yeah.
Voice of the Rowdies here in town as well. Drew is over in Berlin, Germany, covering the Special Olympics for ESPN. If you saw on Sunday, they had opening ceremonies. It was like a 2-hour opening ceremony on ABC for the Special Olympics, the big national worldwide event in Berlin, Germany this year at the Olympic Stadium.
Amazing.
Drew is going to be covering Special Olympics for ESPN the next week and a half or so. So got to give a shout out to our guy Drew, who's over in Berlin, covering it for ESPN and doing some good. He told me today, I talked to him today, having dinner tonight with Tim Tebow.
Whoa! Some Florida State fans out there will cringe, but at the end of the day, you respect the man's greatness. I think he's probably the best college football quarterback of all time. Besides Baker Mayfield. I mean, they had that ranking out there. Baker Mayfield was the greatest quarterback. I mean, they just had that. I mean, Charlie Ward's up there for me.
Greatest quarterback of all time, really?
And college football.
Come on now.
College football.
I can't agree to that.
Well, Tebow did a lot of great things in college football.
He did. He's up there, but he ain't the great. He might be in the top 10 or 15, but he ain't the greatest.
I didn't say he was the greatest, but I said, maybe I did say he was the greatest, but I think he made some of the greatest impact. I'm a Florida State fan, and what he did in college football was tremendous.
He was good. He was very good. No doubt.
I think he's a lot better than Baker Mayfield, even though Mayfield is
he better than Andrew Luck?
Well, I mean, what do you say with greatness? I mean, is it stats or is it national championships? Because you're going off a national championship.
No, yeah, he had a stacked team around him, and he was a good player for sure. But dude had a stacked team, please.
And he had a great system. I know we're already getting into it here. Jason Powers on Sports Pod. I mean, it's debatable. I mean, Baker Mayfield on that list, I think he was number 2 or number 1. In that list that just got released as
he ain't in that category either, please.
I know how much you love Baker Mayfield and how much you're looking forward to seeing Mayfield in that competition with Kyle Trask. We'll get back to that in a moment. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Rays. Your overall thoughts. Saturday's game, you win Friday night, you feel good about it, 6-2, and then you lose to Blake Snell on Saturday, who was just dominant from the very get-go, like 6 strikeouts the first couple innings. And then yesterday you had missed opportunities, uncharacteristically unraised baseball with the errors by Wander Franco, of course, having a couple runs there. So your overall thoughts of this Tampa Bay Rays team on this West Coast trip?
Again, am I going to go crazy if they've lost 2 out of 3 to the Padres, who, if you look on paper, is probably one of the top 3 or 4 teams in Major League Baseball this year? They've underperformed, but when you look at that roster from head to toe, pitching and hitting and all the star players, they should be a much better team than their record indicates at this point, and I think they'll figure out a way to get it together. I watched virtually every pitch of the game Saturday with Snell, and give him credit, he was devastating. He pitched really well. The bullpen came in and pitched really well. Here's the thing with the Padres. The Padres got 2 runs, and I think it was the 6th inning.
Yeah,
they didn't get a hit. I mean, they didn't hit a ball out of the infield for a hit.
It was goofy. The bunt right over his head. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, they played very much small ball to the utmost respect of small ball. And again, Eflin pitched well. He wasn't on his. He didn't have his best stuff. He was laboring a little bit early in the game, but again, give the Padres credit. They put together 2 runs, and again, Snell was great. I mean, give Snell all the credit. He was tremendous. And it was a game the Padres really needed coming after the Friday night loss. And yesterday, again, a long road trip. When you're on the road for a week, fatigue probably sets in a little bit. You're ready to come home. They lost 2 out of 3. I'm not gonna harp. They were 3-4 on the road trip. That's pretty good when you go out west for a week. That's a good job by the Rays. Remember, they came back and after they lost the first 2 in Oakland, came back to split that series, won the last 2. So no big qualms about the road trip. Sure, you want to go 4-3 or better, but 3-4 is not a big deal.
Yeah, and I think it's the ebbs and flows of baseball, Jason. Yeah. We always talk about this and how dominant this team has been this year. So when you lose 2 to Oakland, people say, even though Oakland is one of the worst teams in the league, that's a team that was playing with momentum. That was a team and their fan base at the end of the day that's trying to prove something. To try to keep their team in town, I guess.
Well, they ain't keeping them; they're gone.
No, they're gone. Right, so they're completely gone. But they were trying. Their fan base was trying to prove something. And of course, Rob Manfred spoke about that a couple days later. How basically tough
But we caught them when they were playing the best they've been playing all year. They'd won like 6 or 7 in a row.
Right.
So give them credit. We caught them at the most inopportune. They were playing well. So again, good job by the Rays to win the last 2 games of that series to split. So, and again, the Padres, say what you want, top from 1 to 9 in the pitching staff included. They're one of the top 4 or 5 teams in Major League Baseball if you look at talent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're on with Jason Powers, Powers on Sports Podcast. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Open phone line if you want to call in and talk about your Tampa Bay Rays, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Going back to yesterday's game, potential kind of controversial play, in my opinion, because if you look at the rule, and you know all about rules when it comes to baseball and how they change them up, pitch clock, everything else, you would usually have a collision at the plate. But the rule states that the catcher actually has to give the runner some type of lane. What did you think about Margot getting thrown out at the plate? Was that the right call? Because it certainly looked like the catcher did nothing to give the runner that lane.
I saw the highlight. I saw the replay of the throw from right field by Tatis. They're not, when you say give them a lane, you don't have to give them much. They have to just give them an opportunity to somewhere to slide, either put your foot or your hand. I don't have any qualms about the call. It's a good throw. Give Tatis credit. Great throw, right on the money. Tagged him out. I don't have a complaint. If the situation was reversed, there would be no complaint on the other side. If it was a Padre guy getting thrown out at home, I don't think they would have a beef either. So I don't have a problem.
Okay, well,
it's a good play. Give the guy credit.
It's a great play, and Tatis
throw
that all year around with the assist defensively. He's getting paid for his bat, and it hasn't necessarily worked out for him the last couple years with the PED suspension and injuries. But that's the reason why you pay that guy big money. And I tell you right now, we talk about all the time the Rays spending money. There's no way the Rays could spend like the Padres. But, at the end of the day, it's kind of a measuring stick, because even though you lose that series to the Padres, the Rays in that salary cap, they're looking pretty good. But again, tremendous talent by the Padres. They haven't necessarily lived up to it. We'll see if they can turn it around, because
all right, so I know you and I always like to battle about the Rays.
Yes.
What do you got to say about the Rays now through 70-something games? Clearly the best team in the league.
Clearly.
No doubt about it. Do you want them to go out and make a trade?
I'm still making a trade if you need to make a trade. For
Not for a bat. You've always been on the get us a bat here brigade. Now you can make a trade for a pitcher. They can still use another arm or two in the bullpen, especially.
Well, there you go.
But you can't make an argument they need to make a trade for a bat.
No, you can't this year, because Josh Lowe, when runners are scoring position, is hitting .355, and he continues to have success. Talk about him a little bit, because he's been one of the keys there. Jose Siri has definitely been one of the keys. Ramirez has been good. They've had all contributions all over the place. You're exactly right. And Randy Arozarena, once again, leading the pack. And it just seems like, besides yesterday with the big-time strikeout, it seems like he's at home at Petco Park.
No, that's the dominance of the Rays lineup this year has been the depth of the lineup from 1 to 9. In years past, the Rays have had 3 or 4 good hitters, but they have not had the depth where they get the production from 1 to 9. I think they have 5 or 6 guys in the lineup that have over 12 home runs, which leads the league. They're leading the league in power. Combine that with the pitching, the depth of the lineup is what Kevin Cash has been able to lean on, whether it's Siri, whether it's, guys at the bottom of the order, Paredes, Ramirez, everybody's doing their job. When they get their opportunity to produce, they're getting it done. So that's what's got to make Rays fans feel great, is that you got production. It's not just a 2 or 3 person lineup. You're getting production from 1 to 9 through the lineup.
And you're not even getting the production from Wander Franco, who has, all the potential in the world to do some big things. Let's go out to the comments here. Roger Shue says, first, like always, why a Monday show? Why not a Monday
Acknowledge
show?
me.
Roger says, hurry up, Raw is on. You can watch this and watch that at the same time. What's your point here? As always,
this guy sucks.
Let's see. Is it a Rosarena? Who is that?
No, Rez, the kid from Miami.
Okay.
The kid who was hitting 400 about a week ago is 5 for 5 tonight. And he
I'm
was
not
5 for 5 a couple nights ago, too. He had dropped down to like 380. In like the last 3 or 4 games, he's had at least 2. Tonight's his second 5-hit game in like the last 4 or 5 games for the kid out of Miami, who they got from the Twins. So good for that kid, and let's get him close to 400. It would be great for the sport to have a guy hovering at 400 going into September. It'd be a great story for the sport. The Marlins are playing. Give the Marlins credit. They're playing really well. They're in second place in the NL East, playing way above expectations this year. So let's give the Florida Marlins some love down here, even though we're up here in Tampa.
Absolutely. 41-31. Arizona is also playing well. I mean, I'm looking at the standings. Some of the teams there, pretty good stuff. Greg says Mike Evans isn't going to be traded, period. And again, my inbox is going crazy. Did you hear this? Did you hear this? Did you see this proposed trade? Somebody told me this. Somebody told me that. I said, listen, I've heard from Pewter Report. I heard from the great J.C. Allen of Pewter Report that they're working on an extension. They've had this for the last month and a half.
Ain't going anywhere. Going nowhere.
But let's we'll come back to that in a moment. Let's keep on reading these comments. Christopher Cole says, hey, everyone, what's going on?
Oh, yeah.
And Jeremiah Hafner, a.k.a. Shadow, thanks a lot for tuning in.
Woo!
As always, on the phone lines and talk to yours truly along with Jason Powers. Powers on Sports Podcast, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Really?
By the way, real quick, Mr. Arias is hitting right at 400 after the 5 for 5 tonight. So he's back up to 400.
Amazing. That's amazing. And I don't know if we're ever going to see anybody in Major League Baseball hit 400, but you know what? It's a great story if it happens. I think it's one of those sacred records that's never going to be broken. It's right up there with Joe DiMaggio and the 56 consecutive game hitting streak. I just don't see that happening. And now with the new rules in place and the pitching clock and shifts kind of taken out, but it's still a special.
And the media, and what it is, Peter, it's the media pressure of the buildup in September.
Correct. And
that would be the interesting part, is if a guy gets to September 400, because you don't remember this, you probably may not remember this, Peter Blake. 1994.
I remember it.
Tony Gwynn was on pay. He was about 395.
Yes.
And the strike happened.
Well, wasn't also Larry Walker hitting 370 or something like that? In the
right, I mean, but Gwynn was at 395, right on the brink there. The strike wipes out the rest of the year, and he, of all hitters, such a professional hitter, that guy would have been a guy you'd have loved to have seen with the chase to 400, because he had been the kind of guy. Larry Walker was more of a great player. He was a lot more of a power hitter, doubles, triples, homers. Gwynn was such a good singles and doubles hitter, hit to all fields. That was the year where you had a chance with Tony Gwynn before the strike ended the season.
And I felt like if anybody had the opportunity to hit 400, it was Tony Gwynn, because he was a consummate professional, really consistent, great hitter at the end of the day, Hall of Famer. When you look around Major League Baseball right now, do you see a guy like a Tony Gwynn, consistent? I mean, Shohei Ohtani, is that a player that you could see hitting 400? I mean,
no.
He does everything else.
He's a power guy. He's taking vicious. No, the kind of guy that's going to try to hit 400 is the guy that hits little to no home runs. This guy Arias for Florida, he's got like 2 home runs on the year. He's a contact hitter. He's not trying to hit the ball out of the ballpark. He's not afraid to spray the ball over the field. That's the kind of guy, your singles and doubles hitter, that's going to be the guy. That again, Tony Gwynn was like that. It was not much of a power hitter. He was a singles, doubles guy. Those are the kind of guys that are going to be able to do, potentially do some damage and get close to 400. And there's so many. Again, it's just there's so many. And here's the other part that's way different from 94. The amount of arms in the bullpen that come to throw so hard. You see so many more bullpen guys. All the guys in the bullpen throw mid to high 90s, whereas back in 94, starters stayed in the game longer. So you'd see a guy for 2 or 3, 4 at-bats, the same starting pitcher, and the relief pitching wasn't nearly as good depth-wise. You'd have good closers, but you wouldn't have good 7th and 8th inning guys like you do now that can all throw 95 to 100.
All right, let me go out to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's shift gears from the Tampa Bay Rays on with Jason Powers. Powers on Sports Podcast. You know what? I got a little surprise for you. Hold on a sec. I want you to tell everybody what else you do besides that, because there is the Titan right there.
you go.
Let me go ahead and throw this up there because my buddy does this right there. I hope that's big enough. But go ahead and explain what you do on the side there for your full-time job, helping people out with homes. Go ahead, Jason Powers, Powers on Sports Podcast.
Yeah, if you guys, anybody's out there looking for a home, I'm a mortgage lender. So obviously, most people can't pay for a house in cash, so you need a mortgage. So I'm the guy. We'll get you approved. So whether you're married, single, have you don't have to be, you can have you and a boyfriend or girlfriend can buy a house together. You can, if you're self-employed, if you're a W-2 employee, if you're a salaried employee, hourly employee, there's plenty of ways and easy ways to get you approved. So if you're out there in the market, and one thing I'll tell everybody's nervous about, interest rates are not 3% like they were a couple years ago. Folks, they're not going to be 3%. The only reason they were 3% a couple of years ago was because of the pandemic, or back in the early 2000s when the 9/11 issue happened, and when the housing collapse happened. Normal economic conditions, interest rates are going to be about where they are now. That's about been the average for the last 30 to 40 years. Is interest rates are typically between 6.5% and 7%. So everybody's nervous and it's too. If you can afford a house payment, do it. It's your economic interest to do it. You build equity. You build. There's great things with home ownership. So if you're out there looking for a house, if you want to, whether it's again by yourself, with your partner, with your wife or husband, reach out to me. I'd love to help you. It doesn't cost you anything to get pre-approved. There's no fee that you have to pay to get pre-approved. We get a couple of your financial documents, verify your income, give you an approval. And the other thing is, you need to know as a home buyer, how much can you afford? Everybody thinks they can afford probably way more house than they really can based on your finances. So I'll be able to tell you that in one day. You get me your financial docs, I'll be able to tell you, hey, Peter Blake, you can afford this much of a mortgage. So no, I mean it's being serious, because a lot of people go shopping for a house and they don't know what they truly can afford based on their income and their debts.
Right.
So don't go house shopping until you get pre-approved for a mortgage, because you're wasting your time in most cases. So again, whether you have a lot of money, you don't have to have a ton of money either. It's not like you have to have 20%. You can get into a house for 3% down, 3%. So get out there, reach out to me. I'd love to help you. It doesn't cost you anything. If I can't help you, I'll find a lender that can. So lots of options for you. FHA, conventional loans, veterans, VA. We do a lot of VA loans. You can buy a house that needs work and get the work paid for as part of the loan. It's called a renovation loan. Okay. So let's say you need a new roof, you want to do a new bathroom, whatever. When you find a piece of property that may not be in perfect condition, you can finance the repairs that you want to make into the loan for you. So reach out to me, 205-790-1404.
Again,
205-790-1404. You can call me or text me. I'll return the call immediately. I work on the weekend, so if it's on a Saturday or Sunday, you want to reach out, do that. Titan Home Lending. So would love the opportunity. We can help you anywhere in the state of Florida. So whether it's in Key West or Orlando or Pensacola or Jacksonville, wherever, we can help you. If you got relatives that are moving to Florida from out of state, wanting to buy a house or an investment property or a beach house somewhere, I can help you with that too. So love the opportunity to help. Thanks for the opportunity, Peter Blake.
Absolutely. There you go. Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Get with them. Hopefully he'll share that link on my wall here on Facebook. Let's go out to Eric Edholm on NFL.com talking about what everybody else is talking about in the Tampa Bay area, the Kyle Trask, Baker Mayfield battle. And he says soon we'll set some plot lines regarding quarterbacks and the open jobs at the position, but it appears to me that mostly either settled already for all intents purposes or not. The buzzworthy to begin with is Baker Mayfield versus Kyle Trask, a gladiator showdown in Tampa. Perhaps Mayfield is due for a Geno Smith-like revival, or Trask can revive his college glory. But those feel like stretches. He says he doesn't expect, he says, to be fair, isn't dubbing this the battle for the Buccaneers. Not very excited about the battle at the end of the day. Are you looking forward to this quarterback competition, Or do you think when all said and done that it's going to be Baker Mayfield's job to lose?
I don't think it's going to be Baker Mayfield's job to lose. I've told you on this show and other places, I think it's going to go right down to probably the second or third preseason game. I know they only play 3 this year, right?
Yes.
I think that each guy will get a start in a preseason game. They'll probably each get to play, I would guess, a half with the starters. Obviously before the first preseason game, if there's a clear edge, then okay. I think, again, like I've told you, Peter, I think if it's even, I think Kyle Trask is getting the first chance.
All right, so there you go. So Trask, number 1, first chance, according to Jason.
If it's even. Now, if it's Baker clearly in front, that's a different story. But I think if it's really close, I think they're going to give Kyle Trask the first chance because we know what Baker is. You and I, we've seen Baker play for multiple years.
Yeah.
We need to know what Kyle Trask is at the end of this year, one way or the other. Baker may just totally dominate and win the job, and that may tell you what Kyle Trask is. But again, I think if it's pretty close to even, I think you give Kyle Trask the first, because remember, their bye week is after what, week 4, week 5?
Yeah, week 5 is their bye week, yes.
So you can give Kyle Trask 4 weeks if it's even. If he doesn't show he can do it in 4 weeks, then you can go to Baker after the bye week, and then you move on. But I think if it's close, I think Kyle Trask, because of the investment the Buccaneers have in him, they've seen him for now 2.5 years, going into year 3. Sure. I think this could be the opportunity that he's looking for.
All right, let's go out to this. All right, you know that music, Bucs fans. BuckPower.com's Paul Stewart has his daily countdown. We counted down to the last one was 92 at Loris Tate. Let's go with 91. Top 100 players in Bucs history. Share your memories, and then we'll get you out of here. Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Jeremy Zuda started a variety of offensive line positions during his 6 seasons with the Bucs, but was deemed surplus to requirements by the new coaching staff and was traded to the Baltimore Ravens in March of 2014. What do you remember about him? Because I remember a lot of Bucs fans getting up in arms, very versatile, saying he's the future. Didn't really hear a lot about him when he went to the Baltimore Ravens. So what's your memory with him with the Bucs?
He was a serviceable offensive lineman. I thought he did a pretty good job when he was here. I think Schiano brought him in, if I remember that correctly.
Yep.
Was drafted out of Rutgers. I think he's a Rutgers guy. No, I think Zuda had a very good career. Again, was he an all-pro? No, but he was a very solid guard for the Bucs. He played on some good teams. I think Zuda had a pretty good NFL career if you really look at it in totality. I think he signed a second contract with the Bucs, I believe. His salary cap number rose a little bit, and I think that was part of the reason after the Bucs really struggled for a year or two there that they ended up moving him to Baltimore. But no, he was a serviceable Buccaneer and had a good career.
And if you don't know that information, go to BuckPower.com, home of the No Quarter Given podcast with yours truly, along with Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Paul Stewart, he takes me back to my childhood because I became a Bucs fan when I was 8 years old. And I tell you right now, there's so many great highlights on there. There's so many great memories. We're going to get out to writer and director, Mr. Rick Danford, here in just a moment, talk sports with him. Some big things going on with him. Let's go out to number 90. Josh Bidwell spent 5 seasons as the Bucs punter and went to the Pro Bowl after the 2005 season, having almost been named second-team All-Pro, survived a scare with testicular cancer early in his pro career. Listen, you survived cancer earlier in your career. You play in the NFL. I don't care what position you are. You're tough as nails, right?
That's great. He was a good player too. I think he came to the Bucs from Green Bay, if I recall. He was a Packer, and Bidwell, and right up my alley. Bidwell was a good player. Again, solid NFL. He probably played 8 or 9 years in the NFL. Solid career, man.
Absolutely. All right, number 89. Here we go. All right, it is Leonard Fournette. Spent 3 seasons with the Bucs, on his way to a 1,000-yard season when injured. Became the second Buc in franchise history to have 4 touchdowns in a single game in the win over the Colts. Let's go out to his highlight in case you don't remember, Bucs fans. Leonard Fournette, Lombardi Lenny, and the Super Bowl. Here we go. Fournette, touchdown, Tampa Bay. There you go. go right there. And I tell you right now, you remember that postseason because people talk about Brady, they talk about the offense and Godwin and Evans and what else. But if you don't have Lenny replacing the victim of volume, the victim of a fumble, of course, Ronald Jones, rushing for over 300 yards. Yep. I really don't think you're going to win the Super Bowl. They had that balance with Lenny. Lenny did a great job in that postseason on the way to his first Super Bowl trophy. What's your memory of Leonard Fournette?
I wish Leonard would have been, again, did he have a great 5 or 6 week run with the Buccaneers? Sure. I wish Lenny would have committed himself fully to being a professional. I think that was one of the issues he had. He's always on the verge of being too heavy, chunky, I think, remember Leonard Fournette at LSU? I wish he'd had the motivated Leonard Fournette. If he'd have been in peak shape, I'd have loved to have seen what Leonard Fournette's career could have been, both in Jacksonville and Tampa, had he really committed himself fully to being in peak condition, being an elite athlete. Because he was from the head up, he was a good runner. I think smart guy as far as picking up the offense and hitting the right hole. I just don't know how much time did he really put into his body to give his body the chance to be elite.
And remember that season, he was close to being cut. And he was told by BA, get your attitude together or we're going to get rid of you. And, of course, the Bucs in the offseason picked him up because Jacksonville cut him, which was a shock because you already had Ronald Jones. And, of course, the Bucs supposedly didn't have money. But, of course, they did because not only did they sign Fournette and Gronk and, of course, Brady, but also Antonio Brown at the end of the day. And that collection of players alone. But Lenny definitely was the catalyst, in my opinion, on that offense, and you're exactly right. And he still has not been picked up by an NFL team. Are you surprised by that? And who do you think he goes to? Could he go to the Dallas Cowboys? Who do you see Lombardi Lenny going to eventually?
He's going to be going to somebody for a low number. He's not going to get a big number. He'll be a guy that probably signs close to training camp with somebody. Again, I have no idea who would be in the market for him. Again, my question would be, is he in shape? That was always his issue, and people don't want to waste time on guys that we're not sure if they're in shape. He was always a big guy, so which negates some of his speed. He's not the fastest guy in the world. To me, he's just another guy at this point of his career. I was a little surprised he made the top 100 with Paul Stewart because he only had one good little 6-7 week run. To me, honestly, I don't think he had a very consistent 3 years with the Buccaneers, but he's just another guy to me at this point in the NFL. I don't think he's an elite running back. Yeah, he'll be on somebody's roster, but is he going to be the guy running for 1,500 yards? I don't think so.
Yeah, he looks like he was running with a piano on his back last year.
Yeah, because he's too heavy.
Right, he's heavy or he's injured or whatever else. But you're exactly right. Weight issues. That's what you were talking about last year.
The desire to be great. I don't know if he ever had the desire to be great.
Absolutely. There you go. All right, let's see here. Number 88. Jermaine Phillips spent most of the 7 seasons starting at strong safety, but only twice made it through a full season without injury. I always remember that because they moved on with John Lynch, and that's what Mr. Stewart says here, had replaced John Lynch in 2004. Also saw time starting at free safety during his career. Here's some highlights of Mr. Phillips.
2nd and 10 now. Jerome Harrison still in the backfield. Play action to him. Anderson goes up top, and that one's intercepted. Jermaine Phillips again. The legs are still going across the 40 and finally taken out of bounds at the 34-yard line.
All right, so back here to the evolution of sports talk television. And again, you always remember, and we'll get out to you in a moment here, Rick. We're just finishing up, so just stand by. But Phillips replacing John Lynch, but never, ever being able to stay consistently healthy. If so, who knows? The sky was the limit. And it looks bad at the end of the day because anytime you move on from a veteran like John Lynch, who's a Hall of Famer and, working on trying to be a Hall of Famer general manager for the San Francisco 49ers, we'll see how that works out. He's doing a pretty damn good job. But he still had years in the tank, even though there was some injury history there. He had some good years with Denver, nearly leading them all the way to the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship game. So what's your biggest memory of Mr.
He was kind of your quintessential John Lynch kind of safety in the box. He was a good run defender. Back when he played, you had a lot more 8-man fronts and things like that. Now it's more of the safety's got to be able to cover a little bit better. Was never a great coverage guy as a safety, but he's a good first and second down in the box, kind of like Lynch. Lynch wasn't the best cover guy. He was a good run down safety. Again, another solid career. You can't blame I mean, everybody's not going to be John Lynch. I think Jermaine probably played 7 or 8 years in the NFL. Good career. Came out of Georgia. Solid guy.
Absolutely solid guy. All right, number 87. Here we go. Ron Hall, one of the best tight ends in Buck history, one of the most popular players during his 7 seasons in Tampa Bay. Famously used to walk across hot coals at his party trick when at the University of Hawaii. Died in 2007 at his home in Costa Rica. Sad in itself, but it was either Ron Hall or Mark Carrier. Those were the go-to guys at the end of the day for Vinny Testaverde and whomever else played quarterback. Here's a good memory here. Vinny to Ron Hall versus the hated Detroit Lions. Here we go.
Was a bit strange. 11-yard pickup, first down for Tampa Bay. Testaverde has a man open. It's Hall, the tight end, and the Bucs will score quickly. 54 yards.
Score quickly. I mean, that's always a good thing. And I just remember Hall being a part of that, being a part of that year with the Orange Pants. I believe it was Sam Weich's first year. Now, I'm trying to think of what year that was. That's why you got to go to buckpower.com. Was it 92, 93?
Something like that.
They start out 5-2 or 3-1 or something along the lines. I have to go back. I'm just getting older here, Jason Powers. But Ron Hall, your greatest memory of him.
Here's what I would say about Ron Hall. Had he been on a playoff contending team, I think he'd have gone to a couple Pro Bowls. He was a really good tight end.
Yeah.
He was a quintessential, could catch the ball, good hands. He was good enough in the run game to block. Had that guy been with San Francisco or one of the Dallas teams in the mid-late 80s, one of the good teams, Ron Hall would have gone to a couple Pro Bowls because he wasn't going to go to a Pro Bowl in Tampa because, one, the offensive scheme wasn't great here. And just when the losing, they weren't very good. Had that guy been on a winning team, that guy would have gone to multiple Pro Bowls. He was a really good player.
All right, good stuff. Again, find all this information on buckpower.com, home of the No Quarter Given podcast with yours truly, along with Jason Powers. Powers on Sports Podcast. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television live on I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports.
Yeah, Powers on Sports Podcast. New episode pretty much every week. We're going to, Peter, you and I are going to get together here real soon and wrap up all the off season for the Bucs and our No Quarter Given episode, but leading into training camp, probably here in the next week or so at the latest for that. But again, Powers on Sports Podcast, most every week we talk all things in the sports world, golf. We talk to media personalities. Peter Blake joins us. We talk football. Messi coming to MLS. That just happened. We talk baseball. I got my baseball analyst is a former major league closer, Chris Perez.
Wow.
So we talk all things going on in the sports world. And I'm also a co-host on a weekly radio show on Wednesday mornings from 8 to 10 a.m. called The Press Box. You can go to pressboxradio.com. It's an internet show. It's aired all throughout the Southeast, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee, a little bit of Florida. We talk SEC. We talk college football. Got the College World Series going on with the Gators are playing really well in the College World Series. So we talk all things Southern sports, a lot of SEC talk. So definitely check us out. When I'm on Wednesdays, but the show is every day, 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern time. But I'm on every Wednesday. So check us out, man. Press Box Radio.
Press Box Radio right there. Powers on Sports Podcast. And once again, buckpower.com. Paul Stewart does a hell of a job. Had a little conversation with him on Sunday morning. Some of these rankings are very, very interesting. So definitely stay tuned here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports Podcast. Thanks a lot for your time, my friend.
Real quick, what was our bet that we had for some chicken wings? Didn't we have a bet on some chicken wings for something?
What was that for?
I can't remember what we bet. It was something. And by the way, I'll give you a little Buck tidbit for you fans out there. I won't give away the names. I saw 2 Bucs offensive linemen tonight playing some pickleball here in Tampa.
Oh, I know who they are. You already told me.
2 of them. 2 of them.
Yes.
Now, one I think you know. The second guy you don't know. He was out playing too. And I've also seen a third guy who will be very prevalent in the Bucs plans, playing some pickleball. Because remember, the offseason program's over. They got about 6 weeks to training camp. This guy was out there sweating it up, staying in shape, playing a little pickleball tonight. One new guy, one guy that's more established, And another guy that really has a chance to do something this year as well. I've seen out playing pickleball. So the pickleball bug is running through the Buccaneer organization, baby.
I got to play some of this because it's getting popular. You were telling me you were playing it one time. I'm like, what the hell is it? I looked at it. It looks pretty fun,
man.
So, we'll figure this out. We'll make a sports web on it, do some recording,
It'd be a good, perfect play date for you and your lady. And your lady.
We'll see, my friend. Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Thanks again, my friend. All right.
See you, buddy.
All right. See you. Good stuff there from Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. Open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Let's go out to this guy, patiently waiting, writer and director and actor, and one of my friends who's called the show before, who's appeared as like a baby or something. I don't know how he did that. Hopefully we get his face on here tonight. If not, we're going to talk to him. Rick Danford, welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Unfortunately, I can't put my face on there because I can't get my camera to work, but I did manage to get and find some kind of a picture. So at least that's a behind-the-scenes picture of a film that we just shot this week. And I don't know, at least that's something rather than just a blank avatar.
Well, absolutely. And we're going to definitely get to that because you're a horror director. You do lots of movies here locally. It's awesome. I met you a long time ago at a radio station in a galaxy far, far away. We were kind of talking about this now. At the time, you were going to do a sports horror movie. Go ahead and put that out there because I got a couple actors just saying me or my co-host who is gambling professional or Harry the Greek. But go ahead and talk about this idea because I think it's very, very cool. If you remember what I'm talking about.
Oh, I vaguely remember because that was many years ago. But if I remember correctly, it was a movie that we were getting ready to do called The Final Table of Death. I believe it was a poker movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. And I was actually that wasn't one of my films. I was asked to be part of it, so I played the dealer. And it's actually a short film, a short horror film about this final table where it was essentially run by Satan, I guess. And the film came out really well, and it's actually available on YouTube. It was a lot of fun, but I played the dealer for that movie.
And I thought there was a poker movie also, but with zombies or something along those lines.
Oh, yeah. That's actually a story. It's a friend of mine. His name is Austin Janowski. He has a series of graphic novels called Zombies, We're Humans Too. And he asked me to write a story for him. So I wrote a story called Zombie Poker Champ. And I really loved that story. I thought it came out really, really well. And he actually put it in his graphic novel, and it got illustrated and everything. So it's actually out there for sale. But I've been thinking about actually turning that into a short film. So that's probably the one we're talking about, too.
I think that's definitely the one we're talking about. Once again, you're on the Sports Web, a writer, director, and actor, Mr. Rick Danford here on The Evolution. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How are you looking forward to this quarterback battle between Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield? And where do you stand here? We just heard from Jason Powers. He's a Kyle Trask guy, not big on Baker Mayfield. Harry says he likes Kyle Trask, but he thinks Baker Mayfield is going to win the job. Where do you stand here? And are you excited about this quarterback battle, or are you pessimistic? Have you bought into this, national narrative put out there by the national media? Hey, you know what? The Bucs are not going to be good. They're just tanking for, Caleb Williams out of USC.
I don't know about that part as far as the narrative goes. I don't think they would tank for this guy if he falls in their lap and the two quarterbacks that we have right now just flat out just don't work out. Then I could see maybe making a move for him. But I'm a Bucs fan, as you know, through and through. So I understand the whole idea that you're going to have a couple of years somewhere, like when a Tom Brady leaves, or you just go into a salary cap situation where it's just impossible to do anything. That you're going to have to kind of either rebuild or reload, and a year or two that's going to struggle before you're be back into the limelight again. So I'm all for that. I have no problem. I'm all for this battle, particularly because Kyle's been with us for a couple of years. I'm not a big Gators fan. I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan, but I do like Kyle Trask. I do like what I've seen of him, but we haven't really seen anything of him in a situation like this. So I'm all for seeing what we finally have in this kid. One, for good, for bad, for ugly, whatever. Baker, I'm kind of a Baker fan. I know the guy struggled where he's been and he's bounced around a little bit, but I just kind of like him. I think he brings some stuff to the table. I think that if we surround him with the talent that we're giving him, obviously, and we take the onus off the quarterback and kind of really go back to a running style and just make the quarterback essentially like a game manager, I think he's got some tools. I think he can get some stuff done if we can protect him. I think he's definitely got some weapons with receivers and with Rashad White. So I think they definitely have tools where if they can get their stuff together, that we can win games. And that defense, if we stay healthy, could be lights out. So I believe, and in this division, I think we got a shot.
So you're like me. You're optimistic. I actually think they're going to be a better team without Tom Brady. A lot of people, he said they don't necessarily believe that because you got Baker, who's shown flashes of brilliance, but also has been inconsistent. And then you got Kyle Trask, who's only thrown 9 passes in the National Football League at the end of the day. But I think people forget you still have talent on this team, Rick. You still got Mike Evans. You still got Chris Godwin. I got to ask you, the rumors were swirling about, Mike Evans being traded all offseason. And I tell everybody it's not going to happen. It's an over $20 million cap hit. And now you hear the story from Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times that he's going to be signed to an extension. In your opinion, great move. And where do you see Mike Evans and his legacy with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being a great fan of this team?
I think it's absolutely a great move. There are certain people that come along with this organization that you really feel strongly that, if at all possible, need to retire with this organization. Mike Evans is that guy. Everything he's done for us on the field, everything he's done for us in the community, everything he's represented. I mean, he's just one of those legacy guys that you just do not want to see go. And he's still got several years left in him where he can produce 1,000 yards a season or more. So I definitely believe he's one of those guys that if you can restructure him and keep him here, you absolutely do that. He's a team captain. He's a guy that people look up to on and off the field. You can't lose that guy. And with him and Chris Godwin, and like I said, if they can protect Baker or Kyle, I believe that they can formulate an offense around it that can make both those guys shine and can move the ball and can put points on the board, and let the defense do the rest.
Where do you stand with Todd Bowles? Because I know you were critical of him last year, some of the coaching decisions. I still have some questions there. Some NFL pundits say he's, could be on the hot seat. Where do you lie on Bowles?
I like Bowles personally. I really do. I never met the guy, obviously, but everything that I know of him, I like him personally. I think that when he came into this position and he was elevated to head coach, he didn't have a lot of his people around him. He was forced to work with several different people that he didn't bring into the organization. This is going to be the year that I think we really see what Todd Bowles is about, because these are the people that he's brought in now. This is his crew. This is his coaching staff. This is his formula. So if he falls on his face, even though I feel bad because you're going off of Tom Brady and going to 2 essentially unproven quarterbacks with this team, but I believe that if he does what he does, and I believe in him, I think he can get the job done. I like him. I think he deserves at least this year, depending on what happens this year, maybe even next year as well.
Look, I know we're in June here, Rick, but how many wins do you see this team having this year? Over, under 8 from last year? Over that or under that, in your opinion?
That's a tough one because I saw that schedule. Like I said, if we can stay injury-free, and if we can develop a system that doesn't revolve around the quarterback as it has the last couple of years, I can see us going, at least 8 wins, if not 9 wins. I can see us taking this division. I really don't believe anybody else, even though I've seen what the Saints have done and what the Panthers have done. I think the Panthers are going to fall on their face, if you ask me. But the Saints are going to be my biggest concern. But I still think this is a division for the taking. I still think that we can three-peat as division champions here. I really believe that.
All right, good stuff here. Writer and director Rick Danford here on The Evolution. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Talk about this. How did you get into this business? Who inspires you as a director? Who are your all-time guys here? And why do you like to make horror movies so much? Because we've talked about it. You made several here. Go ahead and talk about this a little bit.
All right. Well, I've been in this business for several years. I think I grew up in front of the TV, grew up in the movies and in the drive-ins and things like that. So movies have been in my blood. As far as horror movies go, yes. I mean, from an early age, I remember seeing horror movies. I don't know what it is about horror movies. I think it's just the whole adrenaline rush that you get from being scared and seeing other people scared and stuff. That's what really gets it for me, is because that's what kind of sticks with you and makes you think about it. Those are the kind of movies people talk about, whether they scared them or something along those lines. So I've always had a soft spot in my heart for horror movies. I've been doing it, like I said, for several years. I've got 2 films. One film right now is called The Clock, that I sent you the trailer for a little while ago. We are currently editing that right now. We just shot that recently. We're editing it right now. Just put the trailer out there, I think 2 days ago. So we're hoping to have that movie ready to go and ready to screen by August. And then at that point, we'll seek distribution for it. And then I've got another fan film that I'm making, Halloween Death Walks Among Us. We released part 1 last Halloween. We're actually filming part 2 and part 3 now. Part 2 features Jason Voorhees with a kind of a crossover there, and we're going to release that on Friday, October 13th. And then part 3 actually features Freddy Krueger and some others as well, and we're going to release that one 2 weeks later on Halloween Day and complete the trilogy.
And that is absolutely awesome. What gave you the idea of doing that? And also, I got to ask you, what did you think about the last Halloween movie? Because I thought it was absolutely god-awful. What do you say, Rick?
Oh, I don't think it was that good. I mean, God Awful's pretty much about right. I was really looking forward to the whole new trilogy. I thought they started out okay with the first one. The second one had a little more promise. It still had some holes in it and stuff like that, but I was so looking forward to the third one. And the third one, I thought, to me, went completely off the rails. I don't know what. I think what got me the most upset about the third one is that they actually had a halfway decent idea to kind of hand the reins off from Michael and create a whole new situation, and they just totally blew it as far as I was concerned. I was so disappointed. It was ridiculous. I even had somebody put a quote on my film that I put on YouTube that they said, "Thank God for my film because it was so much better than Halloween Ends," and I loved it. So yeah, you were absolutely right. It was god awful.
What is your favorite Halloween film?
It's really hard to not say the original because I mean it broke so many boundaries. It was just something that was so unique and so well done, and it just struck at the right time, and it was about the right kind of. I just have to say that's still to this day the best one. I don't think I've seen anything else that's really come close to that yet. There's been a couple that have been enjoyable, but for the most part, I mean, the first one is by far and away the best.
All right. I tell you what, let's go ahead and go out to this trailer here. Go ahead and explain to the webheads out there and the fans of the sports web what this movie is all about and what you're about to see with this trailer, Rick.
Okay, outstanding. The movie is called The Clock, and essentially it came from an idea that I had when I was a kid. I used to listen to these horror radio shows, and there are so many good stories on those horror radio shows that I believe should be turned into films that haven't been yet. Unfortunately, Hollywood's doing the whole reboot, rehashing thing, so I would love to see that. So I got this from an actual radio horror show that I listened to way back in the day. Essentially, the story is about a young couple that buys a grandfather clock, brings it home, and it turns out the grandfather clock has a sinister past that kind of unveils and explodes upon them in the house. So it's a supernatural horror film that's got a lot of scary stuff going on, and the trailer just kind of sets the stage a little bit. You don't see a whole lot in the trailer for this one, but in the next trailer that comes out next month, we plan to bring some scares for you.
All right, so I want to get to it really quick, but do you think that Hollywood does too much of that when you release a trailer? Because I have a Fast and the Furious movie, and it shows all the action scenes, and it's like, why am I paying to see the movie when you basically gave it all away? You're doing it the right way. Do you think Hollywood has a problem with that, and the directors have a problem with that?
I really do. We were actually talking about this the other day, and sometimes you have that trailer that just shows you pretty much everything that's going on or all the good parts of a movie, and then you go see the movie and you realize that all you really needed to do is see the trailer. I think Hollywood does that on purpose right now because their whole intention is to get butts in the seats. They want to get people there to pay for tickets and get them there on opening day and the opening weekend and so on and so forth. So they make these trailers and they fill these trailers full of all the good stuff to get you there. Once you get there and you see the movie and stuff, they've already collected your money. So therefore, their job is done. So now it's just a matter of printing money and making the next one.
All right, so let's go out to the trailer here. Stand by, Rick. Get in the lobby there. We'll bring you back out. This is The Clock on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Enjoy.
Isn't it beautiful?
Looks to be about 100 years old.
Older than that.
It just chimed a moment ago.
You say this clock struck.
Isabel! You called me? What do you think? What is it?
And now I'm officially old.
Wow, you didn't tell me you got a grandfather clock. I can feel the energy coming from it. A lot of people have owned it and passed on.
Wait, what are you saying? Are you saying this is haunted or something?
I didn't get much sleep last night.
Did you have a nightmare? Was it zombies?
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with writer-director Rick Danford here. Great trailer. It looks unbelievable. And tell me what you've heard from people that have seen this trailer so far. I know you released it a couple of days ago, but how much feedback have you been getting on this trailer?
Oh, so far we've been getting some great feedback. A lot of people have seen it. They said it looks really professional, looks really good, looks like a real movie, I've heard. So that's really exciting. I mean, the fact that, like I said, it's a very basic trailer. We didn't want to put too much into it right now because that's kind of the style that we want to represent right now. Is just that first trailer kind of just sets the table. The second trailer should really get you excited, and then the release of the film. So we're very, very, very excited about this, especially because we had a low budget. We had some great talent around us, some great locations. We actually got to film in a real haunted house. So I think we've got everything pointing in our direction, and we're really excited about it.
And once again, Rick is a big-time sports fan. We got to have him on here on the Sports Web and also to promote this film and his films going forward. I'd love to do it because I love what you do here. I got to ask you, how much do you love the Tampa Bay Rays and what they've done so far this season?
Well, you and I have talked about this at length. I absolutely adore the Rays as an organization for the most part. I have no love for Stu Culverhouse, as you know, and the sooner he sells the team, the better for me, and I'll never forgive the man for it. But as far as the leadership on this team, with our manager, with our coaches, and with what they've done with the resources they're given, they are absolute magicians, and they need to be here forever.
I agree, and I like to see him here forever. I also like to see them make a trade at the deadline. Do you think that's what they do? Again, I know it's June. I know they're the top team in Major League Baseball, but, you know, I always steal this line from a movie I love. I was just watching this weekend called Casino, and they're offing all the supposed bosses, and they go, this guy's a good guy, and the guy goes, why take a chance? That's how I look at the Rays. Why take a chance? Make a trade for a bat if you need one. I don't think you need a bat, but most likely a pitcher or a bullpen guy. Where do you stand on making a trade at the deadline if you're the Tampa Bay Rays?
Well, that's a very hot topic for me because that's pretty much where my hatred for Stu Culverhouse came from. If you remember several years back, I'm not sure if we mentioned this or talked about this, but this is where it all started for me. That year when we had Fernando Rodney, who was basically shut down, lights out. We had that incredible bullpen, and it was getting to the trade deadline, and we were just a couple games out of the playoffs, and everybody knew that if we could just add a bat or something along those lines to give us a little more punch offensively, and this team got into the playoffs, when pitching and defense was going to kick in, we could have made a run at the World Series, and that could have been it. But instead, they decided not to spend any money. We just missed the playoffs, and the team was never the same again. So to me, that's always been my issue, is that he's more concerned about dollars. He's more concerned about running this team like a Walmart and basically, or a 7-Eleven, and getting the most you can with what you've got and never going over his budget so he could make sure he makes his profit, because that's what it's about. And that's not what it should be about. You own a baseball team. There's only 30 plus teams out there in the world. You got to get in there and you got to be an owner and a fan of the team. Spend that extra money when you see an opportunity, because it's so hard to get deep in the playoffs. It's so hard to win a championship. So if you have an opportunity to do it, you go over what you're supposed to spend. You go ahead and do what you have to do to make that run, because it's so much easier to sell tickets for a defending world champion team than it is for a team that came up short again.
All right. Great thoughts. And I feel the same way. That's the reason why we're friends here and you're on the sports, the evolution of sports talk television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Once again, writer and director Rick Danford here on the evolution. With that being said, who belongs in the Ring of Honor this year, in your opinion?
That's another hot topic. I mean, as far as this year goes, to tell you the truth, this is going to be a name that some people are going to laugh at, and I'm sorry, but I don't think you should laugh at it. But I would look at Tom Brady. I mean, Bruce Arians was put into the Hall of Fame, the year after he stepped down, right? Yep. Tom Brady, in the short time that he's been here, has done so much for this organization. On the field, off the field, he's set records here that might hang around for a while. He won us a championship. He got us 2 division titles. He deserves to be there, and I would love to see it happen earlier as opposed to later, and make it happen now and get him down here again, make another big celebration. But I believe Tom Brady is that guy.
And I think you're correct about that. That could be where they go, because you have a ceremony with the New England Patriots. You strike while the iron is hot. And even though he hasn't been there this long, 3-4 years, you won a Super Bowl. He definitely changed this franchise and the way people look at this franchise. So I wouldn't hate that. I think Hardy Nickerson, James Wilder are definitely in that conversation. Even a guy like Simeon Rice has been mentioned in that conversation, as he should.
Absolutely.
With that being said, what do you think of them bringing back the creamsicle uniforms? Because I like them, and then like I've always talked about on this show, I've been a fan since I was 8 years old. So there's some bad memories there, especially with the creamsicle uniforms, and especially with the white on white. What do you stand on that, bringing back the creamsicle uniforms once this year?
I've been a fan from the Bucs, and I tell everybody when they ask me about how long I've been a fan. I've been a fan for the of the Bucs so far back that when I used to go to Tampa Bay Center, I could leave 2 tickets on my windshield wiper and come back, and there'd be 4. So yes, I mean I've been a fan since the inception, since we were a joke of a team, and I've never been a fan of those uniforms. I mean, to me, it's like it's kind of cool just for nostalgia purposes for one game or something like that. But if we never see those uniforms again, or Buckle Bruce on the side again, I'd be fine with that.
All right. So, Levante David says that they're not the same uniforms from 2012. So what do you think of that? Redesigning the creamsicle. Is that what you expected from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
No, and I can't see why you would want to redesign. It's like putting lipstick on a pig. Let it die.
Great stuff. All right, real quick, we'll get you out of here on this. Great stuff as always, Rick. Appreciate the time as always in promoting these movies. And definitely don't be a stranger on the evolution, because I know we've had you here on the post game showing up in a baby head. It was so funny itself when the Bucs were losing. But your favorite memory from those days when they were losing, what's your favorite memory besides the ticket thing?
Besides the ticket thing, I think my favorite memory probably has to be just getting on your show and getting heated and stuff, and you guys battling right back with me. You never cut me off or whatever it is. You basically brought it with me. And to me, that's the best, is when you can have a good, heated, passionate conversation with a couple of guys that are just as passionate as you, and it never gets ugly. And I enjoyed every moment of it.
Well, and I tell you right now, if you're putting that up there in your Buccaneer memories, I've done my job here on the evolution. Rick,
yes, you have.
Go ahead and promote yourself here. And once again, promote this movie, The Clock. What's the website? TheClock.com. Go ahead and do it.
Absolutely. The actual website for it is theclockmovie.com. You can go there, see pictures of the cast, some behind the scenes stills, the trailers up there, and more will be up there soon. And then also, as far as the Halloween short films that we have, you can go to HalloweenDeathWalksAmongUs.com to see the actual first film that we released last year and see stills and some pictures and stuff of the two that we've got coming up this Halloween.
All right, so writer, director, and actor Rick Danford, thanks a lot for your time here on The Evolution. We'll see you soon, my friend, all right?
Thank you, my friend. You're doing a great job, and I'm just honored to be here, man. You take care.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. Honored to interview you because you're doing some great things, and I like horror movies at the end of the day, even though I think the genre has kind of, jumped the shark at the end of the day. Like, I don't think you're going to be able to duplicate Freddy Krueger. I don't think you're going to be able to duplicate Jason Voorhees. I don't think you're going to be able to duplicate Michael Myers. Failed. Completely and totally failed with that movie.
This guy sucks.
All right, it's open phone lines. If you want to talk sports, movies, wrestling, whatever you want to talk about in The Evolution, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web Live here on I Love St. Pete, the hub, and Amped Up Sports. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go ahead. Can't wait to see the uniform design. Again, that was, to me, some big news there. And I get it. It's uniforms. You're just wearing it. It's the off season. No big deal. You still got to play the games. Blah, 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 blah. But there are fans out there who still get excited about this uniform. There are fans out there who still get, you have some great memories. Even though they lost a lot in those 80s and 90s, they still have great memories from the 70s. There's some old school Buccaneer fans that love that creamsicle. And when Levante David came out this week and said, not so fast, my friend, as the great Lee Corso would say, it's not the same as 2012. You're kind of like, wonder what they are. You guys curious as much as I am? I'm definitely curious about it. Jeremiah says, thanks for pressing my AKA brother. Pig Dog Video 2001. Peter, what did you think of AEW Collision? It was great to see some of the guys like Miro and Andrade return. Love the announcing crew too. Absolutely loved it. Can they carry over that momentum? Is it just a one-time thing? You're in the United Center. Of course, everybody looking forward to CM Punk. Can they carry that over? Is there not going to be drama? Because you heard this week before AEW Collision that CM Punk basically buried the Elite. Was that a storyline? I think that's more of a storyline. Because I don't think Tony Khan is allowing CM Punk to come back to that locker room or come back to that show, even though, once again, you put all your eggs in that basket at the end of the day. To me, that's a storyline. That's selling. That's what we talked about on the wrestling show on Wednesday night at 10:20 Turnbuckle Talk. It's an easy sell. You don't necessarily have to sell it. It sells itself, right? I think that's more storyline. So to answer your question, great job getting some of the talent that we haven't seen. We've heard about Miro. We knew what he did in WWE. We haven't seen a lot of it. Andrade, we've heard about him. We haven't seen a lot of them. So if this show creates that type of talent where you give that talent the opportunity to wrestle more matches, then I'm all in favor of it. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Jeremiah. That's awesome, Mr. Powers. Absolutely, it is awesome.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. Give that Jason Powers right there. Jeremiah says Trask is number one. Christopher says Team Trask. Wow, okay.
Oh, yeah.
A bunch of Greekites out there tonight, it seems like. Christopher Cole being one of those guys. I'm very surprised of how many people like Kyle Trask in this quarterback derby. And once again, we went out to NFL.com. And the writer said basically in so many words, I'm not excited about it. It's already a foregone conclusion that's going to be Kyle Trask. We heard from Jeff Darlington about a week ago that it's going to be, it's going to be Baker Mayfield. Jeff Darlington says it's going to be Baker Mayfield because of the moxie and everything he hears. Who knows at the end of the day? It comes down to the mini camps. It comes down to the training camp. I think more so the training camp and also the game time situations, but especially the training camp at the end of the day. Let's see here. Didn't Kellen Winslow play for us? He did. I wish we draft Sean Taylor during that draft. Coach Prime, Roger, block my account. All right, bro. Have it your way. This is my last text here. Knee says my Peter Blake, my knee. Appreciate it. Jeremiah says Simeon Rice. That's been mentioned also. And a Buccaneer Bruce at the end of the day. So there you go. We talked about that. I mean, how are you looking forward to that quarterback competition, between Kyle Trask and Baker Mayfield? Or do you think it's a foregone conclusion that Baker Mayfield is going to win out? Or you don't care at all? You're just one of those fans that wants to see this team basically tank so you can get one of those top quarterbacks in the draft next year. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 409-7528. Again, 409-7528. Getting on the phone lines if you want to talk Bucs football. We also mentioned the Rays. Not necessarily the best road trip, but that's okay. They're 51-24. They're 5 games ahead of the Baltimore Orioles, who they're playing tomorrow night, who are in second place. And oh, by the way, the Rays are 31-7 at home. They're at home tomorrow night, and they're pretty good in first games of the series. So we'll see how that works out. Even though I know there's a lot of fans out there who are disappointed. I mean, some of you guys are like, oh, this season's over with. They're losing to the Oakland A's. Come on, man. It's baseball. It's a long season. Let's not lose our mind here. Bucko Bruce. Yes, I know what you meant. Absolutely, Bucko Bruce. All right, let's go out to CBS.com. Bucs rankings here, and you will be happy to know because, again, the national narrative is that this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team is dog. That they're not very good at all, that they're not going to have many wins this year, that they're tanking for one of these top quarterbacks. And according to CBS.com, the NFL here says that's the NFL for 2023. There are actually a couple players in the top 100. The first player was Tristan Wirfs at number 46, who is known as one of the better linemen in the NFL. He is one of the best right tackles since entering the league in 2020. Now he will be moving to the left side, which shouldn't be a problem for this talented player. I think that's far too low. I think it should be higher. I think he should be he's one of the top tackles in the league, whether he's on the right side, the left side, he's still one of the top tackles. At number 46, it's a little bit low, just saying. Okay, next up is Levante David at 71. They say a staple of the Tampa Bay defense since he joined with the team in 2012. David is entering his 12th season with the Bucs in 2023. He's still playing at a high level coming into next year. Still one of the best and most talented linebackers. At age 33, he once again played at a high level for the Tampa Bay defense. And in 2022, he can still get to the football and he still excels in coverage. And I'll tell you right now, when he's not 100%, you could see this defense is definitely different. And you can also see Devin White's play drop off a little bit. So it was good to get him back when there was a lot of fans out there expected this team to move on or David to move on as a veteran to maybe go for a Super Bowl. And they decided to re-sign him. So good move. Once again, number 71. And you said you can't call in. I don't know why you can't call in. I mean, the phone lines are open, but that's okay. You can't call in, text in. Call in, text in, tune in. It's the evolution. It's the sports web. And then to finish up here, the final pick is number 90 wide receiver Chris Godwin, who, of course, is entering 2023, fully recovered from an ACL 2 years ago. The list, here's what the list has to say. And again, this is the top players in the NFL for 2023. So again, I feel like, some of these numbers are just a little bit too low for me. Chris Godwin coming off that knee injury, still had over 100 catches last year and 1,000 receiving yards. I mean, what's going on? Why isn't the respect given to some of these players out there? I mean, Tristan Wirfs, again, one of the top tackles. He's only at number 46. Who's better than him? There's 45 better players, let alone tackles, than Tristan Wirfs. Where? You got to show me that list. I got to see this whole list at the end of the day. We're definitely going to have some conversations about it. I get it. They're just rankings. It's not hurting my feelings. I'm just saying it's kind of disrespectful by the NFL. Let's see here. He's good to go. CG. That would be Chris Godwin. You're exactly right. This says, coming off a knee injury in 2021, he had 104 catches last season. His per catch average was a career low 9.8 yards. So I could see where, some people would say the rankings gets a lot of short passes. Could that be Brady? Could that be the fact the offense was designed for short passes? Could that also be that Godwin doesn't necessarily have that explosive nature like he used to because he is coming off that ACL, right? But now he's 2 years removed for it. And what you hear through, mini camp and everything that's been going on, all the activities the Bucs are doing, that he could be, fully recovered, more explosive, and that will definitely help out this offense again. Let's go out to Rob Thompson. Devin Tompkins will be the surprise of the year. He will emerge as the number 3 receiver this year. All right, good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Now, we talked to J.C. Allen about this, and I get it. It's mini camp, and you're in, shirts and shorts, whatever else. So make of it whatever you will, but he hasn't really shown up. They're more talking about the kid that got drafted out of Nebraska, the Palmer kid. They're talking about him. They're talking about other receivers. You're not talking about Russell Gage once again because he's hurt. So you may be right about this, Rob. Crew Life, thanks a lot for tuning in to the Evolution.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate you always allowing us to use your platform as always. You guys do a great job there. Love that fan base that you got going on there, the little group. Definitely have to have you on the Evolution sometime to talk about what you guys are doing this year for all the Bucs games. But Russell Gage already concerns me, and I get it. It's early in the process, but he's already hurt. So this may open up the door for a Devin Tompkins, or this may open up the door for somebody else at that third wide receiving position. So that is the list. Both Evans and Antoine Winfield Jr. were pinned down as honorable mentions, so the Bucs can look forward to a talented roster in 2023. How is Evans and Antoine Winfield Jr. Not on that list? I don't know what that list consists of.
This guy sucks.
So again, top players, they're top 100 players in the NFL for 2023. And Antoine Winfield Jr., who's one of the top players at his position, who's going to be playing his natural position more than anything else this year. And Mike Evans, who's looking like he's going to get a contract extension because, in case you missed it, he's not being traded. Is not on that list. 9 consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons, and he's not on the list of NFL. Throw the list out. Get out of here. I mean, that's completely awful. Now, Todd Bowles had these comments about the quarterback competition. Sometime during training camp or right after, there will be a decision made. It's still a competition right now. We're not going to award anybody and shorts and T-shirts in any competition. There's waiting involved. You have to see who wins. So there you go. That's from Todd Bowles. So everybody getting up in arms about Kyle Trask having a bad day, or Baker Mayfield having a couple bad days, or seeing that Twitter video of quarterbacks missing throws. I get it. It's the off season. I get it. You got to get some attention for your Twitter video, whatever else. You got to report the news. But it's not as bad as you think in any way it goes. If they did play bad in that mini camp, you get all that stuff out of the way. Because you don't want both of those quarterbacks playing like that when it hits the training camp. But I think a lot of that stuff is overblown. And Todd Bowles basically says, look, I'm not making a decision until training camp. So we'll keep you abreast of that situation. Again, we talked about the Mike Evans mutual interest. This again from Rick Stroud. Evans is set to have a base salary of $13 million. Of course, the 29-year-old first-round pick could be Jason Licht's best draft pick overall. I mean, you would have to say. I mean, to me, Mike Evans is a shoe-in Hall of Fame player and Bucs Ring of Honor, all world, and you can't let him get out of a Tampa Bay Buccaneer uniform. He has to stay a Buck for life. For life. So it was not any surprise. And when I heard all these rumors about him being traded, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you're going to trade maybe one of your best franchise players of all time. I mean, that's the guy you got to keep in house. He's Levante David. That's what he is. He came in 2014. Look at how many quarterbacks he's played with, and he has still consistently been great at what he does at his position. Whether, pundits want to give him the credit or not, he's still getting it done. 9,000-yard receiving seasons, pretty amazing stuff with some of the quarterbacks he's played with. Mike Lennon. Sorry, had a cough there. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. In 2022, Evans appeared in 15 games for the Buccaneers, caught 77 passes for 1,124 yards, 14.6 yards per carry with 6 touchdowns. Of course, the touchdowns being down. This goes out to all the people that have been hitting me up in my Facebook inbox, which you can. Be friends. Make friends with me on Facebook, Peter H. Blake. Like and follow. Don't be scared. I'll go ahead and respond back. Of course, like and follow the Sports Web on YouTube. Give to YouTube Super Chats and Facebook stars on Facebook. But this is what Bleacher Report put out. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers receive Saquon Barkley, running back, because he has not signed his franchise deal. So automatically, the Bucs need a running back. After they basically passed on any running back in free agency. They passed on Dalvin Cook so far. They passed on Ezekiel Elliott because most likely they don't have the money, right? They cut Leonard Fournette. They're going with Rashard White. It's not good enough. That room is not good enough. So they need to make a trade for Saquon Barkley and a second-round pick, and the Giants get Mike Evans. And it just doesn't make any sense at all. Makes no sense at all, and this is something that's been thrown out there again with all the other rumors about Mike Evans being traded to the Colts. No. Mike Evans is not getting traded to the Chicago Bears. No. Mike Evans is not getting traded to the Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. No. Can I say it anymore? Speaking of receivers who may need to be or want to be traded here pretty soon, Stephon Diggs getting off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And this is reported by Boston Globe's Ben Volen. Diggs' frustration, and Stephon Diggs' frustration is with his role in the offense and his voice in the play calling, per a league source close to the Bills' locker room. Of course, you saw when they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals 27-10, how he just basically walked off. People were saying, uh-oh, here we go again. Because you remember, Diggs forced his way out of Minnesota. So what has changed? He's a highly talented player, but an explosive personality. He kind of reminds me of, I'll throw some names out there, Deshaun Jack. I mean, every receiver has that personality, right? Diva mentality. That's what makes them so great. That's why when I tell you and I get on this show how talented Mike Evans is, but it's the philosophy. He goes about his business as a professional. That's why don't take this for granted, Bucs fans. Enjoy the fact that you have the greatness of Mike Evans. Enjoy the fact that you don't have a diva, Chris Godwin is not a diva. Both of those receivers are talented enough to have that personality as being a diva, and they're not. So that's why I continue to say to Bucs fans out there, enjoy these times with the two professional wide receivers. Or you get Mr. Diggs' case here, who once again, has forced his way from the Minnesota Vikings. Deshaun Jackson comes to mind. Of course, a lot of Bucs fans cringe when they hear that. Maybe one of the worst free agency signings of all time in the Bucs history. At the time, it made sense. Attitude-wise, didn't translate over to the field. Why? Because he wasn't getting his production. Why? Because he wasn't getting his deep passes down the field. And that's when you start to see the personality change. We've seen it with Chad Johnson. We've seen it with Antonio Brown. We've seen it with plenty of wide receivers. It's just a characteristic. It's a gift and a curse. And right now, it could be a curse for the Buffalo Bills. Going back to it, Diggs' frustration is with his role in the offense and his voice and play calling, per league source close to the Bills' locker room. Whoever the hell that is. He was visibly agitated at Allen during the 27-10 playoff loss to the Bengals. And the Madden curse is already taking place because Josh Allen is on the Madden cover. Stormed out of the locker room almost immediately after the game and didn't attend any voluntary workouts this offseason. The issues still haven't been resolved. In fact, the Bills reported for mandatory minicamp on Monday evening as Diggs skipped Tuesday's practice. Diggs agent DC Bakari told ESPN that Diggs reported for his physical on Monday night and did everything the team asked him to do, calling in an in-house issue, not contractual. What the hell does that mean? If it's not about contract, then what is it about? Because you look at the numbers, and the numbers don't lie. I get it. Stats are for losers, but they don't lie. They tell a big-time story here. I'll paint a picture like Picasso, all right? In 3 seasons with the Bills, Stephon Diggs has 484 targets, 338 receptions, 4,189 yards, and 29 touchdowns, which pretty much ranks him at the top of the league. And this is according to Sam Ali on Twitter. I mean, those are the numbers. I mean, what else do you want from this offense? You're the focal point of the offense. Now, I get it. You may need a second wide receiver, although the Bills like Gabe Davis. And there has been talk about them going after DeAndre Hopkins, which has not come to fruition yet. Because there's a lot of GMs out there that say he wants too much money and he doesn't necessarily have the separation. Not that he was a speed demon in the first place, but he's obviously lost a step, right? But that may be a player that entices a Diggs to maybe rethink this whole, in-house thing, whatever the hell it is. Because right now it's going to be a distraction. I get it. It's June, but it's already a distraction because you're talking about it. I mean, he's basically playing Marshawn Lynch. I'm just here so I don't get fined. Oh, my phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to New England Patriots cornerback Jack Jones. Who was arrested on Friday night at a TSA checkpoint at Boston Logan International Airport after 2 firearms were discovered in his carry-on luggage, according to Massachusetts State Police. The guns were found around 5:30 p.m. per the TSA, which led to police being called to the security area. Now, that is not the story. Here is the story. This is about a month ago. You want to talk about receipts, kids, and Twitter? When somebody writes out there and they spill their tea, well, here's some tea being spilled right now. Jones, about a month ago, said on Twitter, "Ja Morant, dumb. You're letting social media and your pride ruin your real money. Put them guns down and run that money up. Make one of your homies sign up for security or concealed carry if you feel like you need that bad. But you're the breadwinner. You got to start acting like it." Now, that's great advice. But unfortunately, Jones didn't take his own advice. Oops. So there you go. That's your receipt right there. Of course, Ja Morant, if you've been following that story, was only suspended for 25 games. You know how I feel about it. I feel like he should have been suspended at least half of the season, if not the full season. Because I get it. There's people out there who say the NFL Players Association, not NFL players, the NBA Players Association would have something to say about it. But at the end of the day, when you go to your boss and you tell your boss, I'm not going to do this because I'm ruining my image and I'm ruining the image of the league, and I have to adhere to these laws, because if I don't, I'm going to sacrifice $39 million, which, by the way, you could have made upwards of over $200 million, and you squandered it away. Stupid. For what? Will it get it done? He seems like he's been very apologetic, that he's let everybody down in the organization. He's let the commissioner down. He's a role model. We've heard this stuff before. Hopefully those 25 games that you're suspended, the lights turn on a little bit. You're still young. You still have an opportunity to make lots of money here. You're going to squander it and piss it away. Just saying. All right. 5 teams that could be overlooked in the 2023 NFL season. And this is according to Pro Football Focus, which, by the way, I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not listed. You know who is listed? The Pittsburgh Steelers. Says the Steelers have finished 500 or better for 19 straight seasons. That's why, Mike Tomlin is so underrated as a coach at the end of the day. No matter who is at the quarterback position, no matter what losses he has at the wide receiving position, which, Antonio Brown, plenty of them. He still gets the most out of his players at the end of the day. 19 straight seasons now while winning 9 or more games as a head coach. They have the worst odds to win the AFC North, but that's largely because the contenders and the Bengals and the Ravens, if the Steelers can get consistently good play from, of course, their young quarterback, was second among quarterbacks with a 90.1 Pro Football Focus grade from week 12 through the end of the season. They could be something. The Green Bay Packers. The Packers were in the hunt for the NFC final playoff spot. See, I don't get this. You lose Aaron Rodgers, and I guess you could make the same comparison, right? You lose Tom Brady, and now you have Baker Mayfield. Or now you have Kyle Trask. You're going to be better. You're going to be overlooked. I understand where that point is coming from, but Jordan Love is going to turn the Green Bay Packers around. The Packers are being overlooked. I mean, I guess you can make that comparison, but you don't know anything about Jordan Love. That's the thing. And the Packers, for years now have gone with Aaron Rodgers instead of Love. But that's what they say. With Jordan Love's potential performance, potential being the most overly used word in sports, is a big unknown right now. New Orleans Saints. I know a lot of Bucs fans will hate to hear that.
This guy sucks.
NFC North-South favorites. One of the weakest divisions of football. La-di-da-di-da. Quarterback, of course, they got Derek Carr, Chris Olave there, and they believe that could be the path to win the NFC South in January. The Buffalo Bills. I don't know how the Buffalo Bills are overlooked when Josh Allen is on the mat and cover with all the talent, with all the expectations, but I get it. You look at that division as a whole, it's changed, right? Aaron Rodgers is now with the Jets, Miami Dolphins. Wide receiving core, Tua, can he stay healthy? Lots of talk of Dalvin Cook going down there. We'll see if that happens. We got a story on that, how he wants to join up with a certain wide receiver that we just talked about here a couple segments ago. But the Buffalo Bills, of course, gave the Chiefs everything they can handle, gave the Bengals everything they can handle. Still got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. If he decides to have a change of heart, if you will, maybe a mindset, not throw a tantrum if you lose to the Cincinnati Bengals. But Bengals are a good team, right? They're not a slouch. I get it. You had expectations last year. Allen was trying to get you the ball. They were trying to get you the ball. I mean, the stats show you were the focal point of the offense. I don't necessarily think they're being overlooked, but okay. And then the Los Angeles Rams. Forget the Rams, a couple years removed from a Super Bowl. This hinges entirely on Matt Stafford's performance in 2023. Of course, Aaron Donald's still on the team. Cooper Kupp, a former MVP right there. So we'll see how that transpires at the end of the day. So with that being said, let's go out to Dalvin Cook on the Adam Schefter podcast, and open phone lines if you want to talk about any of these items we're talking about tonight. Your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, your Tampa Bay Rays around the NFL. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Love is garbage. I don't know what he is. I don't know. I mean, do I think they're being overlooked? Do they have talent there? I mean, Christian Watson, Aaron Jones is still there. You got some young wide receivers. The defense seems like I don't know what the Green Bay Packers are, but you have to think they may be taking a step back without Aaron Rodgers, right? Again, it goes back to it. I mean, how many people thought the Seattle Seahawks were going to be good without Russell Wilson, and they surprised? NFL means not for long. So we'll see how that transpires. But, the division to me is getting better. Justin Fields, can he make that, that leap that a lot of the third, fourth year quarterbacks have done? Can he make that Jalen Hurts leap? Because that's the comparison. I think that's a lot of NFL general managers right now look at Fields' ability. Is he going to be able to harness that offense? Is he going to be able to learn the intricacies of that offense? Is he going to be able to have pocket awareness where he doesn't necessarily have to take off? But it's not a bad thing he could take off, because they built the offense around him. And now what they did in Philadelphia to put that extra weapon around him and A.J. Brown, you did the same thing in Chicago with DJ Moore. Can they do the same thing? Can Justin Fields, have that transition, if you will? What about the Lions, who are everybody's darling right now? They're opening up versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Jared Goff, 29 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Can he continue that play? Seems like they have a lot of offensive weapons there, but what's the problem with the Lions defense? Did they have enough of it? Can they get it done in that division? Can they get it done as a whole? Are they going to get their doors blown off against the Chiefs? I hope they don't. Well, I remember I told you the story. The NFL is talking to them a second consecutive year about doing hard knocks, which I think is interesting in itself because the other teams don't want to do it. But I like to see that story take place, because I know there were a lot of NFL fans that were disappointed last year that the Lions were a feel-good story and they nearly got into the playoffs and they missed it by 1 game because there was so much hype with that team. I like Dan Campbell. I wasn't the biggest fan of him. I'm buying it. Can their defense do enough? And then you got the Minnesota Vikings, who had 13 wins and everybody kind of forgets about because their defense was god-awful last year. Right? Kirk Cousins, can he do it? You get rid of Dalvin Cook. Alex Madsen, is he enough? Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the league, if not the best wide receiver in the league. Sorry, Stephon Diggs. Sorry. Saying. I mean, they have enough weapons. Do they have the defense to get it done? So that's a wide open division. So I guess it's okay you could overlook the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love, but I wouldn't kill you for doing it, because he's kind of up there with Kyle Trask, except Trask is a second round pick, has 9 snaps, and Jordan Love has a couple starts, and he's shown flashes of brilliance, and he's a first round pick. And they decided to move on. All right, let's go out to Dalvin Cook here on the Adam Schefter podcast. He says, it's strange to me being in Minnesota for the last 6 years. I'm grateful. Everything I love Minnesota, the people growed on me. That was his words, not mine. The community growed on me. It was great for me and my family just to take the next step in life, just to continue this journey of being a professional football player. I'm looking forward to it. It's just different. It's a different vibe for me. I just work out by myself. I just rehab, spend time with my family. It's been great for me. Of course, Cook, who turns 28, who, and the great minds of football see that as a running back that basically has seen his best days. That's the reason why the Vikings decided to move on in the first place, because they think that he's lost a step. We shall see how that works out and who decides to pick him up. Again, rushed for 1,173 yards last season and earning a 4th consecutive Pro Bowl. He called himself in the prime of his career. Also goes on to say, my production on the field is all I can control. He earned $35 million in 6 years with the Vikings. My agent, he does the best job in the world to get me in the best position I can be in. That's his job. My job is to produce and be me. That's all I can do right now. I'm sitting in the position right now where I'm comfortable to make a decision. I just want to go contend for a Super Bowl right now. There you go. Pretty much you're 28 years old. You just got cut by the Minnesota Vikings. They decided to release you and move on. Now what's the next step? Right? Goes back to Leonard Fournette. Didn't win anything with the Jacksonville Jaguars, getting them all the way to the AFC Championship, wanting to win a Super Bowl, taking advantage of the opportunity to win a Super Bowl, and then finally accomplishing that. That's what Dalvin Cook wants to do. Let's go out to Christopher Cole. Trask equals Love. Well, I don't know. I think Love's got a lot more potential and he's got a lot more starts under his belt, but at the end of the day, you would say that they're kind of in the same boat, right? You don't know what to expect. So we'll see in 2023 what is going to happen with that storyline at the end of the day. Let's see. What else does Dalvin Cook say? He also said that he's looking to join up with DeAndre Hopkins. Yep, that's right. DeAndre Hopkins. So that puts the Bucs out of it. Sorry, it wasn't going to happen in the first place, Bucs fans. I know that you wanted Dalvin Cook to be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, but previous reports would suggest that he wants $10 million a year. You're not going to pay $10 million a year to a 28-year-old running back, even though I love Dalvin Cook and thought highly of him, that he should have been that first-round pick in 2017. It ain't happening. Dalvin Cook ain't coming to the door. Rashard White is your running back, and whoever else the Bucs decide to go with in that running back room. But to join up with DeAndre Hopkins, the Bucs are pretty good at that wide receiving position. We talked about it: Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Russell Gage when he can stay healthy, the other guys on this team. And Hopkins is going to want a lot of money. So is it the Miami Dolphins? Is that the place? You got 2 good wide receivers. Could they use another one? Is it the Buffalo Bills? Do you have a 2 there? Even a 3? Could you fit him in there? James Cook, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Hopkins on the Buffalo Bills. Could you see that? We'll see. We'll see. Thanks a lot to all the guests tonight. Thanks a lot to everybody texting in. Really appreciate it. We'll be back on Wednesday night. Like and follow the Sports Web on YouTube. Like I Love St. Pete, The Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And do 3 things for me. Once again, thanks to writer-director Rick Danford and Jason Powers on Sports Podcast. You know them, you love them, you got to have them. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And of course, fans of the Sports Web and Bucs fans out there, it's your time. Have a great night.
Isn't it beautiful?
Has to be about 100 years old.
Older than that.
It just chimed a moment ago.
You say this clock struck.
Isabel! You called me? What do you think? What is it?
And now I'm officially old.
Wow. You didn't tell me you got a grandfather clock. I can feel the energy coming from it. A lot of people have owned it and passed on.
Wait, what are you saying? Are you saying this is haunted or something?
I didn't get much sleep last night.
Did you have a nightmare? Was it zombies?